Let's build this interactive rating component challenge from front-end method together. So open the index.html and let's see what the desktop design looks like. For this particular challenge, there are two views. There's this card view where the user inputs a rating, and then the feedback view where you thank the user for inputting their rating. So let's start out with the index.html. First go live so we can see our changes as we make them. And now that we have that done, we can start building out the markup for the project. So starting with the rating card, which is where the user inputs their rating, I'm going to create a main component, and this will have both the rating card and the thank you card component. So for the rating card, we can see that there is a card and then the star symbol inside of its own container. So to put that star symbol in a container, I'll create this image container div and then place the star symbol inside of it, the icon star. So the next thing is the h1 text that says how did we do, and that would be outside of the image container, of course. So cut this part and paste it here. And then we have some text in the paragraph, so let's cut and paste that text. And we have to then build out the actual rating container. This container will have the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is where the user will click to give us feedback on their rating. So I'll call this create rating number container. And then I'll have, so since each one of them is in its own like circle, that means I want it to have its own container, individual container. So I'll make that a div with a class of rates, and then inside of the div will be a paragraph with a number. So each one has its own div with a class of rates. So I'm just going to copy and paste that 4 more times, so we have 5 in total, and then I'll change the numbers to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've made good progress already. I'm going to collapse that, and now we want the submit button. So the button just says submit, just to confirm. So we're done with this section with the rating card or the rating component. So now we have to build the thank you card component. Right, so that will be in a separate div. Like I said, both of them are inside main, and I'll call this thank you. I think I'll just call it thank you. It's really hard naming stuff. If you know, you know. So this has an image on top. So let's create a div, and inside of that div we'll place the image and illustration. Great, so that is already showing up. And then after that, we have the text. So we have this text that is in its own sort of like, has its own background. So I'll just copy and paste that text. And I don't know if you noticed, but there is a bit of dynamic text here, and that dynamic text will be in the span. So it's supposed to say you selected XYZ number out of 5. So for instance, you selected 3 out of 5. So the span is where I'm going to be injecting the user's rating. And then we have the H1 that just says thank you, and let's go back. Okay, and then just a paragraph text. It's just a text in a paragraph tag rather. Cut and paste that in. So we're done with the markup for both views or both cards. This is already good progress. We have something to work with now. So the next thing, as always, is to create our style.css document, and don't forget to link it to your HTML document. I always forget, and it can be really funny because you make a lot of changes and you're like, why is it not showing up? It's probably because you did not link it, so don't forget to do that. And now I just want to open the mobile view for both the design and the thank you card, and of course open the style guide to see how we should make or style the pages. So the style guide has information on color, fonts, and all of that. So this is what the mobile view looks like, and it doesn't look very different from the desktop view, so that's great. So starting with reset, I do this, and to be honest, I don't even know if this reset is still useful or necessary, and if you know the answer, please share with me in the comment section. But it's something I've been doing since the beginning of my journey, and I can't help myself. And of course the body, and I'm going to set the height to 100 view height, and this is just to allow me place the main elements in the middle of the entire web page. So place item center, and then I'm going to add some padding of 5 rem. Okay, I'm going to come back here, and yeah, there's some padding of about 5 rem, and there's a background color to the body, so I'm thinking it's this one, very dark blue. You can of course set CSS custom properties and set your colors as variables and custom properties, but decided not to do that with this particular project. So of course we have a white color. I think this light gray is the actual text color for all of the elements, so I'm going to set that here. Great, and now we have to set up our font. So we're supposed to use this overpass font. So I'm just going to embed the link to the font in the index.html document. So copy code. And I almost forgot to do that. And I heard that putting your Google fonts before the CSS matters in terms of making the font available for the CSS document to be able to use. I'm not really sure about that, but once again, that's just how I always do it. So now we can set our font family property to overpass, and the fallback font is sans serif. Okay, and the font has already changed. So let's see what else we need to do. So I'll set the H1 because I can see that the H1 actually has like a white text color, not the gray text color. And then I think the next thing I'll do is to start styling the main component, and main is the parent of each view. Does that make sense? So it has a background color of, I think, this dark blue. We can always confirm. And then it needs a width, so I use main. So I say start out at 90%, but do not exceed 30 rem. That is what I'm doing there. Okay, and we're making good progress. So next thing I want to add is some padding, and I'll add 40 pixels all round and a border radius of 10 pixels. And yeah, this is beginning to look good. Let's see what else we have to do. Okay, so that icon, star icon, has this round shape. So I think I'll make that a utility class. Just thinking about it, it might not really be a utility class, but first of all, the utility class I want to create is for flow content, which is going to space my elements. I always use this. I learned this from Kevin Powell. So basically it's saying any class that has any element that has the class of flow content will select every child element except the first element and apply a margin top to it. So everything except the first one will have, the first child will have a margin top. I hope that makes sense. So back to the round shape around the star icon. That round shape is also around the rates themselves, so that's why I'm doing round shape and then rate. And like I said, thinking about it, it shouldn't be a utility class, so I'm going to put it here as part of me. And it's not a utility class to me because I'm doing multiple things. I'm styling multiple properties. So it has a dark background color I hope you noticed that, but not exactly this one. So I'm going to tweak the values a little bit to try and get something very similar to what I'm expecting. And yeah, I need to add it to the image container, the one that has the star icon. Okay, so I'm going to start styling this. So I'm going to set a width of 50 pixels and a height of 50 pixels. And this will make it easy for me to set a border radius of 50% and get a perfect circle. And let me just increase this so that the color is more visible and you can see the changes I'm making. So now to center all the elements, I'll use display grid, place items, center, and it works almost like magic. And I will need to add a cursor pointer to this. I know because I've checked all of the files, but yes, it looks the way we want it to look, and now just adjust the color to fit better. So I think that is a good guess as to the exact color that was used in the design. So now that we have that, we can then align our rates elements properly, because we want them to stay beside each other and not in a single column. We want multiple columns, not a single column. So rate number, container, display flex, grade, and I'll just justify content space between so that they're evenly spaced out. Let's see what else we need to do. So it looks like we need to style the button next. That's the next element we need to style. So let's style that. And disclaimer, you can use classes and add a class to the button element, but because this is the only button in this project, I just don't see the need of doing that. So it has this orange background color. First thing I'm going to add, and then the text color is white. And then the width is 100% because as you can see, it's spanning the entire width. It also has a padding. Of course, every button looks better with the padding. So I gave it a padding top bottom of 1 rem, a border radius of 20 pixels. I'm taking out the border. I'm going to transform the text to uppercase. And then I'm going to do font family inherit, because buttons and inputs tend not to automatically inherit the font family set in the body element. And I think there is more letter spacing in the design, so I'll just do 2 pixels and see how that looks. Yeah, that looks similar to the design. And also a cursor pointer, because I've already checked the active state and I see that they have a cursor pointer on this element. Okay, so let's style the thank you view, the thank you card. And everything is aligned in the center. That's the first thing I noticed. So I'm just going to do text align center. And the next thing I noticed is the text that says you selected out of 5. For now it's saying out of 5. So let's do that. So I think I'll call this highlight text. Like I said, naming is not my strongest skill. Naming elements and classes is not my strongest skill. So it has this dark blue background color. And once again, I think I'm going to have to tweak the background color because, yeah, let's make it 20%. So, and I'll apply the class here so that we can see the changes as I make them. Highlight text. Okay, and let me just increase this for now once again so that we can see the changes that are being made and it's really obvious. So it has this orange text color. It doesn't look good right now, but it will at the end. Let's add some padding and of course border radius. And the width should be about 50%. It's not spanning the entire width, unlike the button. And we'll do margin inline auto. I always make that mistake, auto, not center. So I think I should make the color darker, the text color darker. Let's go back to it. Yeah, the text color should be a little bit darker. So let's adjust this back and see what we have. Great. I think I nailed it to the best of my ability. And now I'm going to hide the thank you card, because if you remember, we want to show only one card at a time. So now that we have it styled, I can set the display to none to hide it. And last but not least, let's style the attribution. So I'm going to just set a background color, a color for the anchor text. Finding it hard to talk right now. Just set a good color for the anchor text. Of course, when you're working with this, make sure to include your own name in the attribution. So we have this view done, and we have the thank you card view done, and this is the mobile version, looking good so far. So now it's time to look at the active state, which I said I already spied on. I'm not going to lie, I had to look at the entire file before I started making this video. So as you can see, there are some hover states, hover and focus states. So let's work on that, starting with the button. So we're supposed to reverse the color on hover and of course on focus. Also, I learned to always combine the hover and focus pseudo class from Kevin Powers tutorials. So yeah, we want a background color of white and a color orange. Great. What else? Okay, the rates should have a hover color of orange also. So let's go back up and do class rates on hover and class rate on focus, and background color will be orange color. And like I said, it would have been very good if I had created custom properties, so when I make change in one color, if I decide to change one color, it reflects everywhere, but it's a small project. So now that we have that done, if you notice, there is a different color for the number 4, and that's because that is what the user selected. So that's what we're going to be working on with JavaScript to create that. So this gray color right there. So let's create our JavaScript file, script.js, and once again, don't forget to immediately link your script file, your script document. So I'm just going to do script, and if you're wondering why I'm linking it in the head and not in the body, it's because I'm going to be adding this defer keyword, and if you don't know what it is, I encourage you to do a little bit more research about it. And so for the background gray color, I'm going to create this class called clicked rate, and this is the class I'm going to be applying to any elements, any rates that the user selects, if that makes sense. So this is the style. I'm going to be applying this clicked rate class whenever the user selects on a rating number. So in JavaScript, we're going to be selecting a bunch of elements. So we're going to select all the rates that we have. Remember, we have a div of rates, and inside that we have paragraph elements. And we're also going to be selecting the rating container, which is the container that contains all the divs. So query selector and rating container and query selector all. So that should be query selector all because there are multiple divs with the class of rate. And then the submit button, of course, because that is what is going to trigger all the changes that are going to be made. We also want to select the element in the thank you card that is going to show the user what rating they selected. Remember, it's a span inside a paragraph element. So I'm just going to call it selected rating element, and I'm going to have to go back here and include that class. Yeah, this class, this is what I'm talking about, the number 4, where the number 4 will appear. And the number 4 in this case is the rating that the user selected. So I'm going to place it inside the span, selected rating element. Great. So we have that, and we also want to select the rating itself, that is the rating card, this view that we have right now, this entire view, we want to select it, and we want to select the thank you card, the thank you view, because when the rating view is showing, the thank you view is hidden, which is what we have right now. But then when the thank you view is going to be displayed, then we want to be able to hide the rating view. So let's create a variable called selected rating, and this is where we'll store the user's selection. And then we'll add a click event listener to the rating container, and this will run a function. And just to make the code a little bit cleaner, I decided to just write the function outside of the event listener. So this handle rating click is going to take in an event, and I'm going to call it here. So that is the function that will run when the user clicks on any element inside of rating container. And the first thing I want to do is to get access to the particular element that was clicked. So event.target is going to get me access to that, and I save that as clicked rating. And then what I want to do is to make sure that there is no rate that has the class of clicked rate. So because when the user clicks, I just want one rate to be selected at a time. So I want to make sure that there is no other one that has the class of clicked rate. And once I confirm that there is no other one, so I'm using the for each there to make sure that there is no other rate element with the class of clicked rate. And after that, I'm going to make sure that the element that was clicked is a div. And then if it's a div, then you can add the class of clicked rate. I hope that makes sense. So it's just a way to make sure that only one element is selected at a time. And let's test it out. You can see when we click on 1, 2. So what's happening is when we click on a number, it first removes the class of clicked rate from all of the other rates, and then it applies the class of clicked rate to the element that was clicked. And now we can get access to the user's selected rating by saying clicked rate dot first element, and this is just because of the way we structured our index.html. So we're getting clicked rating is a div, right? And we're getting its first element child, which is the paragraph, and then we're getting its text content. So that's how we get access to the number that was clicked, and then we're saving that in selected rating, which is the variable we created earlier. And now I'm going to create a function to handle the submit. So this function is going to be run when the user actually clicks on the submit button, and we're going to first check if there's a selected rating. This part is optional, but it's a good way to go about writing your code. So if there's a selected rating, then we're going to inject that selected rating into our selected rating element using the text content property. And then we're going to hide the rating view, which is this view we have now, and we're going to show our thank you view. And I've not created the hide element and show element functions, but I will. And if there's no selected rating, then we're going to show something else. So let's quickly create the hide element and show element functions. You don't have to use functions. I'm just trying to make the code as clean as possible. So hide element is going to accept an element as an argument, and then it's going to set the display of that element to none, essentially hiding the element. And show element, as you would have guessed, is going to do the complete opposite. It's going to accept an element as an argument and then set the display of that element to block. So this is just a way for us to hide the rating view and then show the user the thank you view. So now to test this out, we'll add an event listener to the submit button, and the event listener will be a click event listener. So on click of the submit button, I want you to run the handle submit function. Remember, handle submit is doing a bunch of things. So let's try it out. We select, we click submit, and great, it worked. And you can see the user selected 1 out of 5, which is what I selected. Okay, now that we have that showing, let's just compare. You can see that they look quite similar. So now that we have that showing, what happens when the user doesn't select any rating and just clicks the submit button? Nothing is happening, and this is where the optional part comes in. So I want to create an error message, and I'm going to create it under this paragraph. It's just going to be a paragraph text, and I would only display this error message when they try to click submit without selecting a rating, and this is a very, very good practice. So I'll give it a class of error. I'll come here and style it a little bit. I'm trying to look for a good place so that my styles follow a logical order. You know what? I'll put it before the rate, and I'll give this orange color, text color, so it's noticeable immediately, and I'll hide it at first. So by default it is hidden. And now I want to select that error element here. I'll save that in this constant called error element, and I'm selecting it because I'm going to be hiding or showing it at different points, so I need access to it. So here, if there's a selected rating, then I want you to hide the error element. So if the error element was showing, hide it, and if there's no selected rating, then show the error element. So now the user selects the number 1, submit, great, we have that. But if the user tries to click without selecting a rating, they're told to select a rating, and it works just as expected. Like I said, that part is optional. It's not part of the original front-end mentor challenge, but it's really good practice. And I'm just testing it out and enjoying the work of my hands. It's really nice when you complete a project, isn't it? I really hope you enjoyed this project as much as I did. And if you have any suggestions, any improvements, any advice on how we can make this better, please feel free to share it with me in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching.